Good morning, guys. This is Anthony P., your coach and contributor for the NHL and lead handicapper for Beat the Bookie sports handicapping site that we have, which is another product of the DFS Army. So for more information, just hit me up on our VIP chat group and just ask any questions you've got. Today, I want to dig into the research station to show you guys how we could extract information that is going to help us identify solid cash players with a solid floor throughout the season, last 5, last 10 games, and without even looking at goals and assists, which is something that is a lot harder to predict and project than shots on goals and block shots. So there's a lot of research that still needs to be put in place after this video, such as matchups, situational games. Is it a back-to-back on the road? Is it the fourth game in 6 nights? We even have teams early this week that were playing their 6th game in 9 nights and came out flat. So I'm thinking about the Wild against Washington. So some players might project or look or feel or the numbers really guide you into saying this guy's really solid. But there's a little bit more that we need to look at and making sure we're selecting the right players on the right slate. In a good spot also. That's really important. So there's about 6 steps that I do, and I want to try and cover these within the next 15 minutes. But what I want you guys to keep in mind is we're looking at identifying players with high floors for the season, for the last 10, for the last 5. So just to set expectations, as we're getting into the last 10 and the last 5 numbers, there's going to be names that are going to start popping up that are not usually cash safe guys, but are actually performing as cash safe. And those are the guys maybe that need to be looked a little bit more in terms of researching the opponent and seeing if that floor could be maintained. Also, you need to look at, okay, that last 5 games, someone like Orlov that's got, I think, the highest floor on the slate in terms of last 5 games performance. Is that floor because of one huge game and the other 4 are scrap? So it still needs a little bit more research, but this is kind of really going to give you a good picture of the slate. Who are cash safe guys, who are being really consistent in terms of shots on goal and block shots floor. And we'll look maybe a little bit at some players in terms of why is this guy so consistent if he has a low floor? Well, because he freaking scores a lot. So again, is he, based on the slate, all of these things come up in the air, and it comes down to decision making where sometimes you're going to go in feeling that you've got the best possible guys, but they're not in the right spots. All right, so let's take a deep dive into this. 6 steps, really easy, really quick. I've downloaded the file, I've manipulated the file, I've added columns, I've done all kinds of stuff in this. So Jim, if you're listening, sorry for messing up this document, but that's what I do. I love to look at numbers and I just play around with them as much as I can to give me a clearer picture or exactly what I want to extract from the data. One thing that I usually do is, all right, so where's our value? So I'm going to use only FanDuel today. Sorry about that. And I want to go see where our value is based on our projections, right? And I'm going to write down these 20 names. And I just want to look at the names here and say, okay, where's the value? So we're projecting Roger Love to be at almost 22 points. That's great value based versus a salary on FanDuel. And then you start seeing some value guys coming out here. Well, touch not really value, but on FanDuel, you're like, shit, probably this guy is to be considered. Same thing for Pacioretty. He's going to be a lot more worth in terms of value on DK than on FanDuel. But as we're going down the list over here, you want to start looking at pricing and you're saying, shit, this guy's coming out over here. Why is he here, right? And it's going to probably push you a little bit to dig and say, okay, are we projecting the wrong power play lines? It's very possible. It's still early. The info is not out, and the skates have not. The morning skates practices haven't been completed, so there's some info. So again, this just gives you a good idea early in the morning and say, okay, these are my value guys. We could keep on going down, but you want to spend $6,000 on a player. You want to get at least 2.2 in return in terms of fantasy points, and you're seeing Radulov at 3.64. You want to write these 20 names down. Okay. Second thing, I'm going to go look again, just for sake of time. We're just going to focus on the top 10 guys. This is a new feature. Thanks, Jim. Great job on this. You want to see a specific player, the percentage of team scoring. So whenever a team scores a goal, that is an assist or that it is a goal from the specific player, you want to see how implicated he is in the overall production, offensive production of the team. And when we're looking at who's leading the top here, you got Bergeron. So Bergeron contributes or is part of almost 50% of Boston total scoring. Then you're asking yourself, what the hell are the other three lines doing? Exactly. So it's a huge number, right? You're looking at Pasta, was at 44. These guys are relatively always cash safe. The salaries are going really up specifically for him. But then why Marchand? Why not Marchand? And you scroll down the list and you're going to find him somewhere here where he's going to be at 35%, so 11% less implication in scoring than Bergeron. So I want to write down the top 10. Okay, I'm going to move a little bit more towards the right, and I'm going to look at the season stats, and this is where I start messing around with the documents. We've got shots on goal, we got blocked shots. Over here I add an extra column that calculates both of them, and I'm going to sort these guys out. And I want to see for the season, who are the guys that are providing the highest floor. You won't be surprised when you're going to look at the season stats, because everyone, very familiar names, except for this dude right here with a small sample size. But in 2 games, he's averaging 5.5 shots per game, and he's 3,000 on FanDuel. He's on the second power play wave, but his time on ice, 5-on-5, should be increasing as he gets closer to form. So he could be a great pick for us tonight. But as you're looking down to who makes the top 10 list, all these guys over here, absolutely no surprise. Maybe these 2 guys here, a little bit more quiet on the score sheets, like you could see here. But in terms of floor, they're in the top 10 for the season. All right, looking at Bergeron again, Tarasenko, shooting machine. These guys are coming up over and over and over again. I want to write the top 10 names over here, and I want to see if the value follows the percentage of team scoring, and see if it follows the season floors. And then I'm going to go look at the 10 last games, and there it gets a little bit more. Not weird, but you're going to start seeing names that are usually not super cash safe just because they're a lot hotter in the last 10 games, and we'll see the same thing in the last 5 games. But I want to do the same exercise where I'm going to convert the total amount of shots in the last 10 games into shots per game. Same thing for block shots. This is the addition of both of them, and I'm going to want to sort this to see in the last 10 games who's hot. Seabrook, holy shit. Right? Seabrook is providing a floor of 5.3 blocked shots and shots on goal in the last 10 games. You want to see if in the last 10 games this has been consistent, or this just happened in the last 2 or 3 games by a very large volume. You want to see if he's going to keep on trending this evening. You want to see if the matchup is also good for him. But these top 10 names that you're going to write down over here are going to start being a little bit more different than the highest projected savings, not savings, but value, top scorers, season floor. It's going to start changing, but it's good because you want to start getting a different type of player pool, which might potentially give us an edge if the matchup is really good. Seabrook might be maybe a little bit under-owned, or probably won't be owned at all. But if we're capable of saying he's in a good matchup and he could probably show us good value, then why not, right? So again, there's work that needs to be done. Same for Cole, same for Pietrangelo. He's popping up last 10 games. And then you got the usual suspects, that are just hanging around. And these guys, as you're going more and more towards the smaller sample size, you're telling yourself, shit, okay, so these are our core guys. They keep on coming up. This is the goal. This is what I want to try and show you guys now, to be capable of determining those cash core players as they keep on popping up as we're going towards slower sample sizes. And you want to start circling these guys as they start making your top 10 on a regular basis as you're writing these down on your list. Let's look at the last 5. Same type, shots converted into shots per goal. Shots per game, last 5. Same thing for block shots converted into block shots per game for the last 5. We add all of these up, and let's see if there's any surprises. Who's been really, really hot in the last 5 games. We're looking at Orlov, who had a game with, I think, 2 goals, 5 shots on net. So again, we need to go look at his performance in the last 5 games to make sure that we don't, jump to a conclusion and say, okay, he needs to absolutely be on our cash lineup tonight. Maybe not. Maybe the matchup sucks. Maybe this floor of 6 in the last 5 is because of 2 really huge games, so the number is skewed. So we need to go look at his game log to get a better idea. Carlson, coming back from injury, so he slowed down a little bit, but he's just a beast. A quiet guy who doesn't really get on the score sheet that much. Sample size is a little bit smaller, but still on PP1. And if you don't want to go with a Pasta or Bergeron tonight, he potentially would be a great pivot, a great exposure to that line. Lene, Bergeron, Radulov, who's our top value, was coming up with a top floor in the last 5 games. I think he's been back for 2-3 games. So again, you need to look at that. Seabrook, comes into our list in our last 10, our last 5, but really not a season kind of guy who's going to provide us a high floor. Maybe more GPP, maybe more a risky guy. We could look at defense tonight, and maybe he's a good option. Again, so we got to look at all of that. Riley, just a machine. McKinnon pops up. So we've got a list of top 20 top values. We've got a list of who scores, who gets on the score sheet the most from a team. We've got our top 10 floor for the season. And then we compare it to the last 10. We compare it to the last 5. Maybe we could talk a little bit about Seguin tonight. He's one of our top floor providers with 5.5 shots on goals and block shots per game, but he doesn't really pop up as a value. He really doesn't pop up as a high floor for the top 10, the top 5. Maybe this is a night where we say we're going to put the season floor aside because we haven't been really impressed, and maybe circle down Radulov and say this is where I want exposure. If you're playing on FanDuel, you'll notice that Ben is a lot less expensive than Radulov. So maybe you could pivot with Ben on DK and Radulov on FanDuel. So what I really like to do is use. See, I did a column over here with FanDuel points. So I'm just gonna look like this. Let's just look at the season for an example. So it's very easy. This is our shots on goal and block shots, the floor per player, and then you just do a column and you multiply by 1.6, which is the points that you get for block shots and shots. And this is my top 10, right? But this is just looking at seasonal stats. Probably fade him. Probably won't fade him. Probably won't fade him. Not too sure what I'm going to do with him. But this gives us an opportunity to be capable of calculating the floor. So once you've done this list, you've circled your names, you see who's popping up more and more, you see who's standing out more and more, then you could start building your cash list and just put these points next to them, right? So let's say we go with Case, we're going to go Case, it's 8.8, and then you're building your team like that, and then you just calculate your floor from your 9 players, okay? Or 8 players, let's just say, right? And if you're capable of getting a floor close to 60 to 80 points without taking in consideration any scoring, that is a pretty good floor, because then you're just going to need approximately another 50 in terms of scoring. So 50 divided by 12, you're looking at about, maybe you need 4 goals, or maybe you need 3 goals and 3 assists, and so on, right, to get to hit that 120 points. We could use the consistency rating here, but this is going to calculate total points, and we're going to see that Wheeler is here. He hasn't been mentioned at all. He doesn't have a high floor, but he scores a lot, so his consistency rating is going to give you this. What I want is a solid floor with shots on goals and block shots, and avoid 0 points. I'm out, guys. Take care.